This podcast is part of the Listen Frederick Podcast Network. To learn more, visit listenfrederick.com.
The Fedora Files.
Hello and welcome to the Fedora Files. I'm Gregory Fedora, and with me today is a returning guest, Jason from SpookyCLT. If you do not follow him on Instagram, you need to. He puts out some of the coolest stuff. Like, I check his Instagram out like daily because there's always something interesting and cool. And thank you for coming back. So
thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
yeah. So you requested specifically that I release this on Friday the 13th, which is not my normal day, but I love you, man. So I said yes. So it's Friday the 13th, like the release, and you have something pretty cool going on. And I want you to just share what you want to share about what's happening today on Friday the 13th in Charlotte.
Yeah, so I'm hosting an event on Friday the 13th, which is not only is it like a spooky day by itself, but here we are in October, so it's double. I knew myself I needed to do something special for this occasion. I have my Instagram account for Charlotte Ghost Stories, but I also do events and meetups and things like that throughout the year. So when I saw that on the calendar, I was like, I gotta do this. So what I'm planning right now is I'm gonna have this historic tour / ghost hunt of the Latta Arcade building in Uptown Charlotte, so right in the middle of the city. It was built in 1914, so it's over 100 years old, which in America, that's a big deal, especially for Charlotte, North Carolina. We're known for raising some of our older buildings to make way for some new big shiny ones. So I found this old historic property with a long history of unique things that have happened there, but also it's been nonstop running this entire time. And if you're unfamiliar with what an arcade is supposed to be, it's a unique building where there's a mixture of like retail and like food vendors that operate inside of it, almost like a food court, but definitely more stylized for that type of time period, where you walk in and there's these beautiful overhead not light fixtures but windows, so it's all like open air, got this beautiful natural light, and on both sides you have different food vendors. It's 2 stories and then some office tenants upstairs. So yeah, I found this old property and I was like, man, I got to do something for this event. I'm also raising money for my fundraiser. We talked about that before. There's a guy in Charlotte, North Carolina, Charlie Hawk. He was killed by a lion. I'm raising money to have his headstone replaced because it's broken up into a bunch of pieces right now. And on it says Charlie Hawk killed by a lion, which is definitely worth saving. So I'm using this event as a fundraiser to fix another spooky thing. 2 birds with 1 stone, I guess.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and you sent me photos of where you're going. It is a beautiful location. It's a very I guess Art Deco-esque like look. Yeah. It is awesome. So can you share any of the stories you want to share online? Like what are some of the spooky things that are happening at this establishment?
Yeah. And that's another reason I wanted to release it on the 13th, because I figured, I'll release it when the event is, so no one comes in knowing.
Yeah.
But I'd be happy to share it with you. So a few different things that have happened there. One, there's this reoccurring residual. There's this reoccurring residual haunting of a guy, like footsteps that are heard. Most tenants report hearing like footsteps if they're after hours, and it's not just like they hear it in the store a story above them. They'll be like sitting at their desk and hear it like right behind them as if someone was there. So it's not always necessarily something off in the distance. It's
Mhm.
happening pretty much anywhere. Another crazy thing that's happened is there's this one tenant that's been there this entire time since 1914. It's a barbershop. So they've been over there for over 100 years, just passed
Mhm.
from one person to the other, continuously operating, even during World War I, during World War II, even during
Oh, wow.
COVID. They have survived this entire time. And back in the day in Charlotte, there was a large bootlegging operation out of here.
Mhm.
That's actually how NASCAR got its start, from people running from the cops. But this barbershop was one of like the main places in Uptown that was selling bootleg liquor. And what they would do is they would put this special barbershop sign on their back entrance that was facing a bank. And then the bankers would know I can pick up my moonshine.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
they still have the sign, and out of everything that they have on their walls, it is the only thing that will fall off. And sometimes
Hmm.
when it falls off, it'll disappear for a few days at a time, and then just reappear, and no one can explain it. And with the historical connection between um, that crazy stuff, it's put two and two together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
someone's
a
attached to it.
ghostly bootlegger.
Legger.
Yeah.
There's a few other things that happen in the building, but I won't share everything. But I will
Yeah.
say that the guy who had this property built, his name was Edward Dilworth Latta,
Mhm.
and he was actually like a real estate mogul in Charlotte. Um, he came from a family of money. There's actually a Latta plantation in a nearby area, so you know how he got his wealth. But he was the guy who spearheaded electric streetcars in Charlotte.
Okay.
And to figure out how to best operate that, he actually would have meetings with Thomas Edison here in Charlotte, around the arcade area. Uh, so, which is a cool historical connection,
Oh,
if you
yeah.
ask me.
That's awesome. Now, you you had mentioned before we record that, and on your Instagram, it talks about there's different kinds of hauntings. Can you go over the different kind of hauntings that occur for people who don't know? Like you already talked about kind of residual, but like all the different kinds, and which kinds are actually out there that have been talked about at the Arcadia?
Yeah, so there's four types of hauntings overall. There's number one, residual, which is, I would say, probably the most common. It's
Mhm.
when action that was happens when someone was alive gets repeated after they've passed. A
Mhm.
lot of times you hear this when someone works at a certain place and they keep showing up for work even if they've passed. Or if someone had lived in a home like their entire life or have a strong connection to it, you'll see them, walking up the stairs or walking through hallways, things that they would have done while they were alive. Then there's intelligent. It's when a spirit may or may not know that they have passed, but they are still able to interact with the world around them. So on those ghost hunting shows, you'll see them, communicating with spirits, getting intelligent answers about like, who are you? Why are you here? That type of stuff. It doesn't mean that they know that they're dead. They could just be answering questions because, their consciousness is flying around.
Mhm.
Um, but it's not just a repetitious act. They are interacting with the current world around them.
Mhm.
Um, there's then poltergeist, which is German for noisy ghost, I believe.
Mhm.
Um, Not necessarily what you see in the movie, but it's more so like different ghostly things that happens without a strong narrative.
Mhm.
A lot of people attach this to when kids are like growing up in puberty and there's a lot of energy around them. Weird stuff starts happening. Personally, I connected to like restaurants and hotels and schools, a place where you have nonstop staff 24/7 doing a lot of high energy things. I think it's a magnet for paranormal activity. Go to any restaurant that's not a Chili's or an Applebee's and ask the staff if it's haunted, and you'll most likely get a yes from at least like half of the staff.
Mhm.
And I think that's just because it's, get that many high flying things in there, it's going to attract some stuff. And then the last is inhuman. So a spirit that came from something that wasn't traditionally human. Um, a lot of people categorize like angels and demons
Mhm.
as this, but there's also water spirits, earth spirits, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the four. Um, Going back to what you said, like I do have examples for just about all of those at the arcade. The only one I'm iffy about is super or inhuman
Hmm.
because what people sometimes attribute as demonic, um, that gets skewed with the religious connotations with that.
Yeah. All right.
Personally, for me, I feel like what a lot of people call demons are just spirits with malicious intent and not
Hmm.
necessarily fallen cosmic angels from heaven,
Hmm.
as the Bible would tell you.
Okay. They're just angry people who died, and
Yeah, and who are now taking it out on us and the living.
yes. Now you also said that there's going to be another part. You're going to be giving the tour and the stories, but then there's going to be an after kind of thing going on.
During, yeah, it's part of the appeal of the event. So like the first half or so, I'm going to be telling a deeper dive into the history than what you got. Going through the history of the building, different tenants that have been there. It's what the Latta Arcade means to Charlotte, North Carolina. Telling the ghost stories, and then after that, we're going to be splitting up into smaller groups. And the Charlotte Area Paranormal Society (CAPS), who's a great team of local paranormal investigators. They're going to be um, running a ghost hunting section.
Oh, cool.
Um, yeah, so it's the building, despite being built in 1914, has never been investigated for the paranormal.
Hmm.
There's decades worth of stories. A lot of the tenants that are here now have been here for decades. And there's actually a few people who their parents worked there. So they, as kids, they grew up, hanging around the shops and
Yeah.
working there once they were teens. And now they still work there or they're shop owners themselves. Um,
Oh, wow.
lots of history, and it's getting investigated for ghosts for the first time. So I'm excited to see what we find.
Oh, very well. Now I wanted to ask about the you said it's the fundraiser for the Charlie Hawk.
Yeah,
How's that going? How close are you to having the
this will
funding for
be
that?
this will be a big hit financially. It's over $3,000 that I need to raise, and
Hmm.
believe it or not, it's hard to get people to financially contribute to the restoration of a guy who's been dead for over 100 years. Um, Despite everyone saying they love history.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm trying, I'm trucking along. I'm not going to stop till I raise
So
all
it's
the
done.
money.
Oh, very cool.
I don't think that this is gonna fully get all the money I need.
Hmm.
Um, but I'll just figure out what the next piece is.
Yeah, and I'll put a link to what so people can if they want to donate because I think you have it on your Instagram where to go to, and so right, I believe so. Yeah,
Yeah, of
yeah,
course. It's
yeah.
in
So
my link tree for
yeah,
Instagram.
yeah,
And
and I'll put
spooky.
the link on there so people if they want to donate because I still think it's an amazing cause. I love the story when you went over it last time you're here, and if you
Yeah,
don't know the story, go back to that podcast because we talked about it.
absolutely.
It was absolutely fascinating. Now because I don't want you to give away all your stories, but uh, is there a ghost or an entity that people know of or named? Like, because I know sometimes they'll
Yeah.
hear and be like, "Oh, it's Brian the whatever." Is there anything like that there? Like,
There certainly is. One of the porters that works on site, he's been working with the arcade, if not with it, then outside of it with one of the restaurants for about 30 years now, and he has named the entity Frank.
Frank,
Um,
all right, good
for no
name.
particular reason, it's just what I guess has stuck with him all of this time.
Hmm.
But those footsteps that I told you about, that presence that seems to be hanging out around the arcade, he has named Frank. And when I told him I was doing this event, he said the first thing was he was like, don't go messing with anything you shouldn't be messing with." And I said we're going to be respectful and we're not, trying to get a reaction out of anyone or anything like
Yeah,
that. We're just trying to see what's up. And he said, okay, but if Frank gets mad at you, it's not my fault. Um, but besides that, I think that this is one of the like when it talks to about the paranormal, and we're talking about dead people.
hmm,
Um, a lot of times people automatically go to like who was killed here, like who
yeah,
died, who had a ghastly murder. And there's nothing like that for the arcade that I have found so far.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the spirits are just people who have imprinted on the shop or the building that they've worked on all this time. Because this building clearly means a lot to a lot of people. So, and it has for decades. So I think we're going to find a lot more spirits that were connected to it because of, their professional career as opposed to,
Getting murdered
the
or
other horrific stuff that happens on
Yeah.
these hauntings.
yeah. So it's probably more ghosts that really love the area and love the place as opposed to those who have a bad
Yeah,
connection. So that's different. That's kind of cool that that situation.
that's what I'm hoping with. But who knows? Maybe we'll get a connection and
Stumble.
they'll say, hey, Google this name
Yeah.
and we'll find something. But
Buried
we'll
beneath
see.
the barber shop. Like it.
Yeah, right. Oh, I've been there. It's
Yeah.
it's creepy, but no bodies that I found
Yeah. Yet. Yet.
yet.
Yet. That's really cool though. I'm excited for it. It's like, are you gonna be able to put any of the recordings that you get? Like when are you
That's
for the
that's the
ghost hunt?
plan. The events from 7 to 10, I definitely want to make as much content, there, videos, live streams as much as possible. We're only doing this once, so we gotta get it right.
Mm-hmm.
And then after 10 o'clock, Caps and we're staying late, and we're actually going to be, hanging around past midnight in some of the off limits areas, like the
Oh, cool.
basement, like the attic. So when the masses leave, we'll see what happens when it's a little quieter.
Nice. And then you'll be posting that and then we'll
Of
get to
course,
see.
yeah,
That'll be
as much
awesome.
as I can.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that, what you find. And now are there obviously it's Friday 13th now, so it's like is it a ticket thing or can people show up if they hear this earlier in the day? Can they just show
Strictly
up and pay?
ticketed,
Okay.
because it's a fundraiser, so I got to
Yeah.
make sure I raise that money. I'm only doing 50 tickets because I'm leaving the
Okay.
tour. I got to make sure I'm able to
Yeah.
effectively communicate to everyone. But we've already sold out, so
Oh wow.
all 50
Nice.
tickets sold, plus a few people in like local government and media that I've invited. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun full night.
That'll be awesome. So you can't get a ticket now, but you can check out his Instagram and totally see what they find. And like I said, you want to follow because he does cool stuff like this. And if you're in the area, you can be like, oh wait, he's got an event coming up, and you can plan a trip to Charlotte. And probably my guess is if they contact you, maybe you can even hook them up and tell them where a good event would be, even if you're
Oh,
not.
absolutely. That's half the reason I have the page is to get those, places that you need to visit out there, get the events that you want to attend out there, the people you need to talk to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to be a one-stop shop for all things spooky in Charlotte.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job.
I appreciate that.
I'm and I'm trying to get my buddy to go down there. He still is not done. Like he's going right now. He's headed out west to
Send them my way.
Tombstone. But I told him, like, dude, you got to go to Charlotte, and I got your hookup, and he can tell you where to go. But I know I want to thank you. I know you got things going on. You got to get ready for this event coming up, and I thank you for coming on and talking about it. And I don't want,
Yes,
like I said, I didn't want you to give away too much because I want, people, maybe you can come on after the event in a couple weeks and go
I'll
over
come on as
all the
many times
stories.
as you'll have me on the show.
Yeah. Like let's give it a few weeks and then let's have you come back and then you can tell all the stories and all the things that you ran into. Cause I'd love to hear
Absolutely.
like an update on the stuff you found.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Maybe before Halloween, maybe. Or you might be, or after Halloween. How about after Halloween? Because you're probably really busy this time of year.
Yeah,
We'll figure it out.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah. But thank you again, and thanks for coming on and telling me. I'm really excited about this. I cannot wait to see what you post and what you find, and then have you back and talk about what you experienced and what other people experience. Because I'm sure people are gonna have experiences there too that'll tell you about it, and that'll be pretty cool. I'm excited about this. And
Absolutely, man.
thanks again. And remember, as always, stay safe and keep searching.
The Fedora Files.
Check out FedoraCRT.com today.